get ready for some hot takes because this is my list of 88 anime that I've seen that I'm going to be doing a tier list for today. And number one, the first one, Don't Toy With Me, Nagatoro-san. This honestly is a great anime. I know that there are a lot of people that maybe haven't seen most of these anime, so I'll try to stay away from spoilers as much as possible. I won't really give away anything, but I wanted to say for this specific anime, it's incredible. You think about all different kinds of tropes that come into play as far as like the tsundere and then also the yandere. And so those obviously meaning like the specific character over here, the girl in the show is 1 year younger than the guy. And they're both in high school and she basically bullies him, right? He's kind of a nerd and he doesn't really, have the best social skills, but I think it's such a truly beautiful story after the fact that the teasing kind of ends, right? So Nagatoro kind of beats up on Senpai, her, older classmate, and it's funny, and it's also kind of like really deep and like harsh at the beginning. She actually makes him cry in the first episode. So it's really just a powerful series because in the very beginning it's hard, it's brash, and it is just kind of in your face, but then it kind of softens up, and then the second season, honestly, it's fantastic. I mean, for a long time, my most popular video was a Nagatoro-san video. And especially in season 2, episode 6, I believe, it's one of the most touching and heartfelt moments you get in a romance anime, that I think is kind of unmatchable, if that makes sense. Like, it's not really easily matched by any other romance anime. There are a lot of great things about this series, I really just enjoyed the fact that we had a lot of things that were unique. The girl, for example, is stronger than the guy, but also she kind of teaches him and helps him in certain aspects of that. So like athletics, she kind of helps him out in that way. Helps him kind of like style himself better. So it's like a little work in progress, a little project for her. But at the same time, the guy like helps her kind of open up about her actual feelings, and then also he's a really great guy, so there's nothing really wrong with him as her like object of desire that she eventually finds out. And I do think that the romance is accurate for the time that they are living, right? So they're in their adolescence, and I understand that anime can be pretty jarring and pretty cringe sometimes, but I do think that this anime really hones in on the fact that, hey, yeah, this is young love. Like, do you remember what it was like to fall in love in high school? You were so scared to like be rejected, but if you actually found someone that you loved, then you got to be with them if you confessed, right? And so it's that rise and fall of emotions that really keeps the series going. I won't spoil anything. I want you guys to watch it. There are some weird like fan service moments. I don't like those moments, but other than that, I really think it's a good show. Solid A for now. I will be kind of adjusting these things, so just be wary. Death Parade. Is it an A tier show? Death Parade is this anime that comes from the creator of Death Note, right? It's in the same universe. And so this guy, his name is Deckham, and he's the arbiter, right? So he is the one that decides, hey, should I do this? Should I do that? Where do I send these people? These two people die at the same time, and their souls get sent to him. And so in the afterlife, he has to determine who is worse of a person. It's an incredibly, how should I say, like gripping show, because the premise is, like I just explained, it is very difficult to kind of go along with, right? Because sometimes you don't want to watch something that's like, hey, these people, they're going to go into the abyss where they'll never be able to feel any warmth or cold ever again. They'll just feel nothingness, and it'll be basically like oblivion, but they'll still be conscious somehow. Versus, oh, well, you get reincarnated into a better life. And so it's like, oh, wait a minute. So heaven and hell in this, series is really just crazy, right? So like, it's a very difficult series, like I said, to watch. So if you really think that you like the darker stuff, that's definitely an anime for you. I enjoyed it. I thought Well, I thought that the emotions and the actual story with sentimentality was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I know a lot of people, they don't like the slower build series, and this is not slow by any means. It's just very like pointed, maybe. The two characters that are either one is going to heaven, one is going to hell, and Decim decides. They either, like I said, they tell some gripping story, or it's like, it's okay, it's just a normal story. But the whole thread of the show is what I'm interested in, with the other character that kind of joins them. This female that, in the beginning, you don't know what's going on with her, so I won't spoil. She just basically is there with Decim, and she kind of learns about the process. So that's all I can really say for now. But it's definitely like an A. It might be low A, honestly. Not to be rude or anything, but just like not to say anything bad about those those series. This was Akame Ga Kill was really one of the first anime that was kind of dark and gruesome that I watched. I have to say that I really enjoyed it, and I know that's kind of a, what do you call it? Well, that's kind of like a cop out, because it was one of the first anime you watched, so you have nostalgia, and it's like, yeah, man, I do have nostalgia, and I'm okay with that. I think that Akame Ga Kill was perfect for me at the time. Obviously, these assassins have to take out this corrupt government, and yes, they are corrupt, but also you'll find out these assassins, they're not really good people either. And that's where it all comes into play, as far as a battle between this slightly maybe better moral group of assassins versus a terrible, horrible empire that has enslaved millions of people. And it's like, okay, so they're bad, but then also, like, the people that are assassins are literally assassins, so like, maybe they're not good themselves. So it's kind of like a blending of morals and stuff like that. Akame, the main character, is super OP. Her sword basically just kills everyone instantly, because it poisons them and sends a curse to them, and then they just die from any contact with a sword, as long as it slices any part of their body. So it's definitely up there. I think that's an A tier anime. There might be a lot of A tier anime, but I'm going for I think Link Click, a story where two guys have this power where they can go back in time, dive back in time. That's one of the songs entitled on the soundtrack, so there's a reference for you. And then because of that, they get to go in there, right? And basically replay the story mode from the character's point of view that they're helping out, and they get to pick up some sort of information that the original character didn't have. And it's kind of a fascinating thing. So they're time traveling, but then they also have this other thread of like, there is another person that's doing certain things similar to their powers. And honestly, it's an incredible story about these individualized characters that actually mean something in the end. And it's like a little episodic adventure, and there's that, common theme running through and an overarching plot that, I love. I really appreciate those stories because this one is really well done. The music is fantastic. It's catchy. The opening is catchy. The ending is catchy. But then also, like, you get these little emotional, golden pieces of nugget, right? That are just great. They make you feel good, but then also they can really tug on your heartstrings and say, like, for example, there's this character, right? These two girls, they made a business together. They were, trying to make it in the big city with a great business and trying to expand. But really, the girl that originally came up with the recipe, she was the one that said, well, I don't really feel like we should do this anymore because I just want to make people happy. I don't care about money, like expanding our business. And the other one didn't feel that way. But there was sort of a specific resolution to the story that I really enjoyed. And I think that those little moments in the anime, right, that they kind of show the larger picture of themes of human existence is really where it's at, right? Like, I think that obviously Link Click has these great, fantastic fight scenes that I'm in love with, and then also some really unique character designs that I enjoy. I think the characters in that story are more realistic, down to earth than most anime. They're very relatable, but as far as like the whole theme of Link Click, it's that everything kind of matters in life, right? Like, okay, maybe you don't appreciate this now, but the time you spent with your like old friend, or the time that you had growing up as a kid playing basketball, it mattered, right? It mattered. And I really enjoy the appreciation that Link Click shows for those little moments. Obviously, it's a Chinese donghua, so it's not technically anime per se, I would say, but I still count it as anime. And another one right here. Daily Life of the Immortal King. I watched the first like 3 seasons. I think there's a 4th one now. And with these shows, I really think that if I watched one full season, I count it. If there was more that I didn't really watch, okay, whatever. But for Daily Life of the Immortal King, it's a funny show, right? It's interesting, I will say. But the fact is that it breaks the 4th wall every episode, and I don't like that. And then it basically deconstructs the whole entire series and says, well, let's just go over how animation is made. And I'm like, what does this have to do with anything? And so I just don't really like it. This story is about a guy who is the king. Not really, but he's the most powerful person in the universe, and he just was born with that power, and he has to keep it toned down, tempered down, because if he doesn't, then he can destroy the entire universe. And so he's just a super OP character that always wins, but it's very like, how do I say, dependent on knowing Chinese culture, which I don't really like, because I don't know anything about that premise, right? I don't know anything about Chinese ancient culture or tradition. So I do think that that's a little bit over my head. Plus it basically is this guy going to school who is overpowered, and they make a comedy out of it, and he beats the Demon King easily. So, there's also a bit of romance that I really enjoyed, but they really cut that out pretty harshly in like season 2.5, 3, around that era. So yeah, I definitely C tier. It's watchable. You can watch it, and the first season is fine, it's good, but other than that, not that great. Yeah, I mean, My Romantic Comedy SNAFU. Is it really that great? I mean, so this guy, he basically is a sad boy, right? He's the ultimate sad boy, and he doesn't really have feelings towards a specific girl in the beginning, because he thinks that girls are either like super duper nice or like really, really cold. And the nice girls are just hiding that they are actually cold. So really, he is kind of bitter towards women, and he just wants to be alone. But that's okay. It is a very in-depth series, I will say, as far as like going through the emotions of this character who shows some signs of like, social ineptitude, but he's not all that ridiculous, right? Like he's not unaware of things socially. He can read people's emotions. He's very sarcastic. He has a dry wit, so I do relate to that. But he ends up falling for that, whatever her name was, the main girl, the black-haired girl, whoever that was. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm blanking on all their names. I think Yui maybe was the redhead girl that got like a chance with him. But yeah, it was a fine enough show. It just like ended very weird. And one of my fans actually told me that the story did not line up like in the anime with the actual manga and the light novels, because we got less characterization of the black-haired girl and actually more of the redhead girl in the anime, and that's why it was weird, because she was always there in the anime, but then they cut out the other girl who's like the main chick, and then in the end the guy was like, oh yeah, I love the main girl, and the whole time I was like, well, you haven't spoken to her in like 10 episodes, so why do you like her? And it just ended, and I was like, but then they left the door open with the OVA, the extra episode, that was like, oh, by the way, yeah, that girl also has a chance with him. So both girls are back into the equation. So it's like, it was very an ambiguous ending in the finale. Dang, I just spoiled that, didn't I? My bad. But like I said, it's a meh show. It's more about the interactions with the characters and the dialogue. Well written, I will say. Danganronpa, I don't know. High C tier. Show about a kid who gets stuck into a survival game. Woohoo! And he really doesn't. I mean, he's basically really good at solving the mysteries and stuff, and he has hope. And that's the theme of the show. But really, it's mainly about like a mystery, like a murder mystery thing, and that's fine. It's a good show. It's decent. I just don't think that I really enjoyed like the whole. It got very weird at the end because multiple characters are just like kind of not really well fleshed out, and then also the characters. There's like this whole third like season. It's weird because it's also a video game, and the video game is the second season. There's a video game for the second season, and it tells a story. But then the third season of the anime just comes out, and it was like, yeah, well, we had the first season, and you need to play the video game for the second season. And then they bring in the third season, and it's like, what? So they left out a second season for the anime just so that they could, make people buy the video game or whatever. I never played the video game, so I was really lost. Yeah, it was definitely a weird series. The Devil is a Part-Timer. Well, I don't watch season 2, so it's probably worse than The Daily Life of the Immortal King. Season 1 was good. I think season 1 might have been better than The Daily Life of the Immortal Kings, season 1. But the problem with The Devil is a Part-Timer is that it should have just stayed unanimated for the first season, after the first season. Like, the first season was funny. This guy who is basically the devil of another realm comes to, Japan, and he figures out, I'm like a reverse isekai. And it's funny, it's witty, and he has to, like, the girl who's always been fighting him got transferred to the real world as well, and they all have to get part-time jobs. And he works at basically McDonald's, but it's called McDonald's. And it's funny because he's super powerful, but he's just chilling at McDonald's. So, and the story is as thin as the premise is. So after that, I really stopped watching, and season 2 just was weird, honestly. It's trying to be funny and serious at the same time. That doesn't really work out. Millionaire Detective. Honestly, this is better than SNAFU, romantic comedy SNAFU. Millionaire Detective is actually really good. It's only like 12 episodes. From start to finish, it keeps going. Basically, this guy who, like Daisuke Kanbei or something. I have no idea. I can't remember his name. Anyway, the dude with the millionaire dude is running around. He becomes a detective, and he wants to use all of his gadgets and stuff to basically get an edge on, capturing criminals. But then there's this whole kind of side story of the other character in that photo with him. He's kind of like afraid of, using his gun because he used it wrong on one occasion. But now he gained some sort of confidence with that. And it's like a little murder mystery type. Well, maybe not murder. I can't remember. Anyways, but it's a good show. They're just basically like doing basic detective work. So it's so like mid, like exceedingly mid, that anybody can watch it. It's fine. And I would never recommend it as like, oh, you have to watch this. I would just say, yeah, if you want to watch this show, definitely check it out because it's good. Okay, so Shinobi no Ittoki. Yeah, it's B+. The first like 6 episodes are meh, but then it's basically this ninja dude who becomes a ninja because his family's always been ninjas, and he is like not used to it because he becomes a ninja very late in life, like 15 years old instead of starting from the beginning. And he finds out that he needs to be like he's the son of the village or the ninja chief of their village, and so he is like new to it and everything. But honestly, it's really good. They throw everything, like bombs and guns, ninjas with shooting Death Stars, and it's crazy. I mean, I will say that they did a great job in the action department, I will say, because like they really just threw everything they had, like robots and ninja robots. It was cool, and I'm glad it only lasted 1 season because there was not much of a plot. Basically it was like, oh, the ninja villages are fighting. That's it. So yeah, I think it was definitely a great watch. You should watch it. Venus Line. Birdie Wing. So I really blazed through this show. It's Eve is the main girl. She's the blonde girl. And then whatever the Japanese girl with the black hair, I can't remember what her name is off the top of my head. But anyways, it's a fantastic show. It's about golf and how basically this girl has the thing called the rainbow bullets. And it's like one of the best golfing style ever, taught by like a golfing legend. And the fact is that she, is kind of like a rough scruffian and stuff. But if she loses in this one game, the mafia is going to like, take her out. And so I don't know what I can say on YouTube, but you get my point. And so my whole thing is that it's a fantastic show. I'm a golf fan, like not a huge fan, but I appreciate golf. I've played golf, you know, like on a team. And so I think that golf is like an interesting sport to do an anime on. And they nail every single accurate thing and statements about golf and like why stuff happens in golf and explaining you what golf is, but also it doesn't like over explain. So Birdie Wing is a super fantastic show that has a great story, and I really appreciate that they did a great job of like knowing actual golf facts, but then also giving you like an anime thing without kind of giving the character superpowers, right? Because she'll hit like a normal drive, but like something cool will happen. And people do that all the time. Like she'll put extra top spin on it or whatever. And they'll tell you that. But then she'll be like, I think one of her character phrases is like blue bullet. But, you know, obviously she's a Japanese voice actress. So she says blue bulletto. So it's pretty cool, I will say. Very heart pounding. Like it is action packed as far as like as much action as a sports anime can go. You know what I'm saying? So Tonikawa Over the Moon for you. Yeah, this slaps. Okay, season 1 is really not that good. It's so mid, but season 2 is fantastic. I gotta put it behind Nagatoro-san. Oh, actually, Nagatoro-san is better than Birdie Wing, I think. Because season 2 of Birdie Wing might be like a 10 out of 10. Because it's really, really good. But yeah, that's so difficult. Tonikawa Over the Moon for you is a story about this guy who, you know, he is a regular, normal guy, supposedly, but actually he's super duper smart. He's not like ridiculously like anime superpower smart. He's just very gifted child. And he goes and decides to say, okay, you know what? I am going to, you know, live my life to the fullest and like basically shoot for the moon, right? And then he meets this girl, right? I think her name is Tsubasa, I think. But anyways, so she is, you know, theoretically, the tale of Princess Kaguya. Theoretically, we don't know. So, but if you've ever heard that, like that Japanese folktale story, that's basically what this show is drawing inspiration from. And I don't want to spoil too much, but that's kind of like what it is. So if you know that story, you kind of know the gist. But it really throws that trope on its head and just doesn't really care about that in season 2. It cares about the love and affection between the two. What happens in the very first episode is the guy, he sees, you know, her, and he says, oh my gosh, wait a minute. Like, this girl's the most beautiful girl I've ever seen. She seems super duper great. I'm going to ask her out on a date. And he does that. And then she's like, okay, I'll go out with you. Like, I'll go out on a date with you if you'll marry me. And I said, what? Like that meme. But I do appreciate that this story was way out of like the left field, because what anime starts with the two characters getting married? And they don't make it a joke or anything. They don't say, oh, well, they're not really married. It's like, no, they're seriously married. Like, they just tell you the struggles of a married couple. And it's really, you know, insightful, I guess I should say, because it's like, oh, well, the main dude, NASA, that's his name, NASA, like, you know, the space engineering program, government organization, I guess you could say, like, you know, of America, NASA. Anyways, NASA, he figures out like all these different like little things about like girls that he never knew, right? And I think that's such a cool thing, because I myself wish that, you know, I could do that. That would be great if I could get married. But I think that that's really cool that a guy kind of figures out certain things, like just the way he should speak to a woman, and how to, you know, tell the truth, but also be a little bit more, you know, finesse about it. Have some finesse about like how he says things, because it could upset her in certain ways. And that's not an anime thing, right? That's like a real life thing. So I think that it's a great story that encompasses something that we all, most of us, want and, you know, desire for. But at the same time, like, I can sit back and say, let me appreciate the, you know, story for what it is, and not some sort of like weird anime superpower that I think they were trying to like hint towards in the first season and just say, oh yeah, like moon, right? NASA, from the moon, certain things, right? Like Princess Kaguya. There was a lot of that stuff that was like, I don't really care too much. But I will say that they really freaking nailed it in season 2. It's just such a wonderful story, of the love between those two. So spending a lot of time on that. But I do really love that show. Fairy Tail. Fairy Tail is, it's so hard because it's like, I really hate putting it like behind Shinobi no Ittoki. But I think just longevity wise, you gotta put it in like B tier. Because okay, the Fairy Tail manga is better than the anime. I'm just gonna say that. Like the last final season, the manga was so much better. There's actual like, more. It was more graphic, and I like that as far as like blood and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed that they kind of made it grittier and darker in the manga. But they really cleaned up some stuff in the anime that I did not appreciate, I will say. I think that there's a lot to say about all of the different, 300 episodes. But I will say that it was one of my early favorites. It's definitely not a bad show. Like, if you want to watch Fairy Tail, I think you can get all the way through it and just say, that was not bad. It wasn't like fantastic or anything. They took a lot of detours, but Natsu being the main character of him. I mean, Fairy Tail in the guild itself, in a magical guild where they try to protect each other. They really are, family basically, and they have to fight off different guilds, different like nations and stuff, and different threats. And Natsu being a dragon slayer who can breathe fire and also eat fire to, kind of repurpose it as his own magic. I love Fairy Tail. I do. It's a great show. Is it better than something like Death Parade? No, I don't think so. Is it more entertaining than one season of Shinobi no Ittoki? No, I don't think so. I think if you watch Shinobi no Ittoki, like one of it, and you just watch the first season, and I think that's the only season, that'd probably be a better time spent than watching all of Fairy Tail, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not as I don't have enough enjoyment in Fairy Tail as I do as, in comparison to Shinobi no Ittoki. Hunter x Hunter. This is going to be a bad take, but I don't know, B+ tier. It's good. I really liked it. There are some great fights in it. Gon being the kid that, he joins with Killua and Kurapika and Leario to complete the hunter exam. He gets his hunter license. And then also he ends up saying, well, I'm going to get my power up so that I can eventually go, challenge my dad and go find my dad, which is cool. I like it. And there are obviously way more things. Like the nin system is amazing. The power system is incredible. It is really well made. Meruem being in my opinion, the best shonen, well, maybe the second best shonen villain of all time. The most competent and the most actual realistic. But dude, that Chimera Ant arc was too long. It was just too long. I think as far as the story goes, it's fantastic. It's really good. Like, it's definitely watchable. I just think there are a lot of weird stuff in like the Chimera Ant arc. Like, the ants are weird, man. They're just weird. They kind of unnerve me. So, but yeah, I do think that Hunter x Hunter is a great show and everything. I just don't really know if I could say, well, this is like, one of my best favorite shows of all time. I do think that it's definitely like up there as far as like shonen anime, but is it my favorite, or do I like it all that much? Not really. It's a bad take, I know, but it's great. Like, I love Adult Gon, Great Pretender. It's probably right behind like Millionaire Detective. Great Pretender is a story where I think Makoto Edamura, I think is his name. He's this Japanese guy that's a con man. Learned the con that this other guy I forget. He's some French dude. I can't remember his name. I'm sorry. But he basically kind of takes him under his wing and does some like cons and stuff, and that's cool. But basically, it's just a recurring deep con of trying to get big money, or like trying to save someone, or, you know, they do all kinds of crazy, like, con man type things. It's good. It's just kind of like, very mid. There's nothing great about the story. I think that the animation style is cool, very interesting. I think it's different, like the art style. Like lots of long lines and kind of like bright colors. And they kind of play around with that and swap out more, like less realistic colors to provide you some sort of emotional, like, goading to be like, this scene should be very peaceful because I'm seeing a blue and like a purple, kind of like a calm purple. But it's good. I mean, it's a well made story as far as like people took time to kind of think of, this is a trick and this is that, you know. But the characters are just meh. Like I don't really care about them too much. All right, Akiba Maid War. Yeah, this show was actually really good. B+ tier. Yeah. Actually, well, okay, the overall show was fun. The finale was terrible. Akiba Maid War. It's basically this show where this girl wants to become a maid, and she does. And actually, it turns out maids are just like eternally violent, and they like use guns and stuff like that, and they like, you know, defeat each other. You know what I'm talking about? And like that's the end for them. So, but yeah, it's very dark humor. Like the way they use, especially even in the first episode, it's very graphic. I think that they use a lot of blood. I think that I enjoyed it overall because it was different, it was unique, and it like was dark comedy, which we don't really see too much with anime. It was very morbid, but I will say that that you know it was something I was not expecting. That's for sure. You know, you see all these like cute maid girls, and actually they're really mean and really hateful and really nasty, and then very violent. So it's a cool, like, unexpected thing. Chainsaw Man, this show's pretty good. It's pretty dang good. I mean, would I rate it better than like Hunter x Hunter? Yeah, I think I would, just because like I think it's an 8 out of 10 probably, and Hunter x Hunter is like a 7 something for me. But Chainsaw Man is really good because the guy Denji, he's down on his luck, nothing is working for him, and then he meets Makima-san. Oh man, that's crazy. The redhead girl. Yeah, Makima is pretty cool, I will say. She basically is like, wow, why don't you just fight devils for me? And then he was like, okay, whatever, because you're hot. I mean, you know, why wouldn't you? But anyways, so he works for the government organization just to like kill these bad creatures, these devils, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, there's like other stuff in there. I like Chainsaw Man. It's almost too graphic for me, but I like to I do stomach it because I think that the characters are just crazy. Like, you don't really like them, right? Like you're not like, Digi's such a great person. You're like, you know, Aki is a really great person. No, they're not good people. They just want what they want, and they don't care what they're going to do to get it. And they're ugly, they're mean, and so I don't necessarily like that, but it is pretty interesting what happens in the show. The plot developments are good. And then obviously, like, you know, I'm a Makima simp. Sorry, so I am sorry. But yeah, it's B+ is pretty good. It's pretty solid. Very solid. I think I just kind of enjoy like the other A tiers better. Oh no, not Domestic Girlfriend. It's pretty good. I will say. I'm just going based off like my favorites. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's not right? Like it's not a nice show, okay? It's probably not something that, you know, I really should be watching because it's like about this guy who loves or you know, he interacts with this, you know, girl that is his grade, like age, and then he finds out that that girl is going to be in his life in a certain aspect, in a certain way. And she goes to the same school as him, and it's very awkward. But also, he has a crush on her older sister, who is a teacher in his school. Yeah. It's so wrong. It's very, very wrong. And I do not condone anything that happens in that show because it's not right. But also, it's an interesting drama of what happens, right? I think it's very interesting. Do I support anything that the characters do? No, of course not. No, I don't. I do not condone it. But is it kind of fascinating to watch and kind of just crumble? Yeah, it is. It kind of just blows up in your face, as you could imagine, right? So yeah, it's not a nice show, I will say, but it's pretty entertaining. Anyways, let's get to the true show of the entire day. Cowboy Bebop at S+ tier. I think I'm only going to give 3 shows this ranking. Why? Cowboy Bebop is a story of this guy, Spike Spiegel, who just wants to live on existence, right? Like he just wants to exist. He doesn't want to move on with his life. He's in this limbo space of, being in the crime syndicate, his past life, all the bad things that he did, but then also the love that he found there of this woman, and he had to go away for a while and fake his own death, and then he just was like catching these criminals on the Bebop. He's a cowboy who roams around in space, and it's all of these different planets and stuff. It's a fantastic show. It's great. Faye Valentine, one of the original femme fatales, she takes part because she also has a terrible past that basically leaves her all alone. And then she joins the crew of Spike, and then also Jet, an ex-cop who is very disgruntled after what happened with him on the Force. And then he also lost his arm. Now it's robotic. But yeah, I think that this story just is something that can never be created again. It truly is the objectively perfect anime, I will say. Like, there is another anime that I think is perfect, but this one kind of encompasses everything. Why? It's sci-fi, but it really doesn't matter, I don't think. And what's the point of Cowboy Bebop? Let's do kind of to tell you, like, hey, I think that you should move on with your life. Like, in the end, sure, you go on these different adventures and stuff like that, and you have fun, and you do your job, but also, like, hey, there's more to life than just existing, right? Like, and you know what you need to do, and you need to fix that, and you need to move on with your life. Whether that means like growing up or maturing, or maybe that means going back to your past to face your fears, or maybe that means accepting the past and moving on from that to broaden and open your horizons, your new horizons. So, like I said, a fantastic show. Okay, I take back my statement about it being perfect. I just think it overall around it is perfect as far as like there's nothing really wrong with it. But there is another anime that I think is better, in my opinion, that you could probably show to anyone. This one, I think overall, like as far as anime goes, and if you're not a fan of like isekai or fantasy, this is the anime for you. This is the ultimate number 1 of all time. Plus, it's action packed. So, okay, we have a lot more anime to go. Initial D. Yeah, it's pretty solid. Yeah, I mean, I really liked it. I enjoyed it. It's not better than Chainsaw Man, though. Why? Well, Initial D is the story of this guy who, his dad drove this, I think it's an AE86 or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. But it's this car, right, that he's like fine-tuned and all. And this, teenage guy who's been driving it like all of his life figures out, well, maybe I can race. And like this guy, his friend at school is like, dude, you should totally race. And he's like, I don't really want to. And then he does. He's like, wait a minute, I actually enjoy this. Because when he has like a fire underneath him, then he's like, woo, like, let's go. But I did really enjoy it. The cars are CG type stuff, and it's just very cheesy, but I really liked it. It's good pacing. The driving back and forth, it's still got the cell animation. The art style is, it's good. It's very, like I said, original. Like, it's old anime, but it's still very good. I do think that Initial D, my friend recommended it to me. I'm thankful for him to do that. It's a very, I don't know, like cult following. A lot of people really like this show, and I understand why. And it is kind of just like race, setup, race, setup for the race, race, right? It's very like streamlined, and that's okay. I don't think it has to be something that's not. In my personal opinion, I really enjoyed it. It's definitely a solid anime. That's why I put it in B+ tier. But is it really one of my personal favorites? No. I was very thankful to watch it. And I think it's definitely good. And I can see why people think it's their, or why people would say it's their favorite anime. But me personally, I just, the racing cars is great and very intense. But it's just not something that I really relate to all that much. I did like learning about the cars though. So, okay, Hellsing. Hellsing was, the whole thing was fine. So like B tier, like low B tier. I think I've changed my mind on this anime just because like Hellsing, this guy Alucard, he's obviously a vampire, and he turns this other girl into a vampire to save her life, and she's the main character, sorta, but also like Alucard's been alive for so long. He has these weird powers that I don't really know like how that exactly is, pertinent to the situation, right? Like he's a vampire. He's not like a immortal demon, demigod. I don't know like why he has these weird, crazy powers, but he does, right? And so he protects like the queen's service people. It's good. Like they hunt down like supernatural beings, and then Hellsing is like the agency that takes them out for the English, like British Empire or whatever, the English government. So it's good. It's not bad to watch. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, probably right behind that, because part 1 was good. I liked it. This guy Jojo, Jonathan Joestar, he basically just fights this dude, right? Dio Brando. And this Dio Brando turns into like a beast of the night, like a demon that can't take heat. And then Jojo like finds a way to utilize his body and breathing to harm the guy. And then he kind of beats him up a little bit, and he gets his friends to help out, and that's it, right? Like it was good, but I just think that like the weird, crazy, bizarre thing is like not my deal, dude. It's just not for me. Bocchi the Rock. It's pretty fantastic, I will say. It's very good. I think it's better than Chainsaw. Just as far as like enjoyability, Bocchi the Rock is a story about this girl who becomes a famous guitar player on YouTube. Interesting. Can't relate at all. And she actually does something really cool. She gets like thousands and thousands of subscribers, like 60,000, and that's really popular. But also she, doesn't show her face. She just records the music, and so she's very socially awkward, and socially introverted. The most I've ever seen out of any anime character. She can't even hardly talk to a stranger at all. She physically can't form the words, and I like it. It makes me feel as though all the times that I feel socially awkward, that I actually do have some validity to that. Okay, it's okay to be like that, right? So I don't really fault myself as much anymore as saying, well, actually this show kind of helped me showcase, there are people that are worse off, socially. And I'm an introvert, and I don't harp on that too much, right? Or hark, what is it, hark? Yeah, I think it's hark on that too much. But I do, find myself overanalyzing things, being socially anxious. But that is to a whole nother level with Bocchi. But she does join this band because of this introvert, or because of this extrovert, and she really makes some music that absolutely slaps. I listen to their soundtrack all the time, not just during the anime, actually just kind of on my own listening application. Can I say Apple Music? Is that okay? YouTube don't ban me or anything. But yeah, so it's a fantastic show. It's really great. The music is awesome. Neon Genesis Evangelion. Yeah, this is S tier. I like Link Click personally better, but Evangelion is a true masterpiece. It's so good. Shinji has to fight using this Evangelion, the Eva, this giant purple mech robot suit that he pilots. And then, he has to defeat these angels, which are terrible, terrifying kaiju. And it's really good. It is so good. It's basically about how this dude's depressed. He's like, I'm so depressed. It's very relatable certain times when you're feeling really bad. If you watch this show when you are depressed, you'll absolutely love it. Because I was like kind of lonely when I watched this show, and I was like feeling, just kind of like, not great, terrible mood. And I was like, wait a minute, I love this show. And it's especially good at 3 a.m. So yeah, I do think that it kind of encompasses a lot of different deep emotional like baggage that each of the characters go through. And it's only one season, so I really enjoyed that part, I think. And it does have like a sort of conclusion that a lot of people didn't like, but I'll talk about it another time. So yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the older animes, but it's a classic for a reason. It's true. Full Metal Panic. Okay. Yeah, this show's pretty good. The first season is good. I don't know, like B tier. I'd probably rather watch Fairy Tail than that. Because like this one's good. It's just that like the romance never happens. Like even in season 3, they kind of at the end like confess a little bit, but really it's about this guy who is this bodyguard for this girl because she is like has some sort of weird knowledge about like a mech suit that can use the lambda drive, which is like a really like ethereal thing that they didn't think was possible, but it's like this thing in mech suits that gives them extra power, and so he just has to protect her. He uses a mech suit, and he just fights other mech suits. So like it's okay. Like it's good. It's definitely not bad. It's also like really, really funny. That's why they did a whole season just on comedy. But I do really appreciate that because I think a lot of shows just aren't funny, but that one is, The Witch and the Beast. I'm putting Fairy Tail B+ tier actually, because I think it's better than those like one-off shows now that I think about it. So Witch and the Beast is great because it's it's a dark story about obviously this kind of beast character that he carries around his real body in his coffin. Except he doesn't do it. His partner does it, Asaf or whatever. So the partner is like a really good mage, but he's nowhere in comparison to the actual body of that beast dude. But he can't use it all the time because the witches have cursed him. So he has to find the witch that cursed him and obviously take out that witch. It's a pretty interesting show. They're setting up for more in season 2. I like it. It's good. Yeah, Pokemon's a great show. I don't know. I'd probably watch some. Like, if I didn't, I think overall it's great. Like, the first time you watch it as a kid, it's fantastic. So I'm gonna put it like, this is so hard. Somewhere in B+. I think that's fine. Like in the middle. Like overall, as far as like just all of Pokemon, just in general, I probably appreciated it more than like Hunter x Hunter. So I think just personally, me weighing in the legacy of Pokemon, I think it deserves that. I think that's fair. Yeah, I don't have to explain Pokemon, do I? Kimi ni Todoke. Season 1 was good, but season 2 really just was rough. Very, very rough. It was pretty. So this girl, like, awkward social introvert, which has never happened in anime, right? So she is this person who basically like is in love with the main dude of the class, and turns out he likes her too. And then like they think about getting together, and then they do get together. Sorry. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I thought it was really good. There's a lot of like sentimentality and cool like art style. Different, like very pastel kind of like light colors, and I like it. It's just I thought it was more than it actually was. Record of Ragnarok. Yeah, this show's pretty trash, not gonna lie. The only good fight is the Jack the Ripper versus what's his face, Hercules. That fight is so goated, and I did a whole video on that. But yeah, it's basically like these gods fight against humans to make sure that the humans can like actually live and survive, right? And they fight famous people, so like certain war generals fight for the humans, and then for the gods, obviously like Shiva and Hercules, demigod, all that stuff, right? So for the Kill la Kill, oh, this show's so good. It is pretty darn good. I don't obviously like I don't agree with the premise, right? Like, you know, it's basically the show like that is talking about how, you know, clothing is very personal, and like what you wear says something about you, but also like you shouldn't feel so obligated to wear certain things because like you want to express yourself. But it is kind of like, you know, a certain type of anime, right? Like I don't really approve of it, you know, because it's very like, you know, weird, and just maybe not the best show to watch. But overall, the story is pretty good. I think that they did like some crazy stuff with animation. Studio Trigger is, you know, they basically make the same anime all the time. But this girl basically just tries to get revenge for someone killing her father, right? And it's weird, man, but it's pretty good. I might need to do a video on that. Oh man, Kaguya-sama Love is War. This show is so good. It's so freaking good. Whew. Hot take, it's better than Link Click. Wow, yeah, I think that's a hot take, but I think that works. Okay, Kaguya-sama, this girl, right, Kaguya, Shinomiya, she is kind of the perfect princess, you know? And then also this, you know, the story of the princess and the pauper, you know, the poor guy. The guy in the story, they both go to high school together. They're both seniors. And so, you know, what he says is like, well, I like her. And then she's like, well, I like him. But we have to make each other confess because love is war. Whoever confesses first loses. And the other person gets the upper hand. Even if they love, like, even if they're in love, like, one person needs to win, right? And ultimately, it's just this amazing story of, like, I get it, humor. The first 2 seasons are kind of like episodic and whatever. It doesn't really matter. And it almost seems as though it's like, not taking you anywhere. And then season 3 is like, no, there is going to be something that happens. It's ultra romantic. It's like, oh, wait a minute. Like, things just got serious. That whole season, 10 out of 10. 10 out of freaking 10. It's fantastic. It's psychological. I love all of the in-depth analysis of like what's going on in their minds, but also like they're making each other, like they're making me laugh because of their loud, bombastic, you know, tit for tat wars. And then also like the way that they, you know, express their feelings, but they also like try to trap each other and like, oh, well, what do you think about this? Like, we could go together to the movies. And they're like, what are you suggesting? Like a date? And they'd be like, no, I didn't say that. You said that. And it's like, oh, okay. It is pretty, you know, it's a little childish sometimes, but I think that the, you know, overall grand romantic gestures of this show is like, oh, they're so fantastic. And really that's what it all was about. You know, Akasaka, the guy who wrote the manga for this, also wrote Oshinoko. He said, yeah, I just kind of like didn't have a girlfriend in high school, and this is like what I wanted my high school life to be like. So he's just like, hey, I just wrote my existence, like what I wanted my life to be like. So I really appreciate that. I think Kaguya-sama Love is War is one of the best top 10 anime of all time, I think. Dude, this show is so good. This show, it's so hard to put like romance rom-coms over like a certain anime, but this show is good. I mean, it's freaking good. Like more than married couple, it's more than a married couple, but not lovers, right? It's about this guy who like he is into this girl, this sweet, nice, like innocent girl, but also there's this girl that is his, I kid you not, like government public school assigned wife that, you know, is for pretend, right? So they both have separate rooms and they both have locks on their doors that the other person doesn't have access to, but they live together and like they cook dinner together and they cook breakfast together and stuff. And then also like it's freaking crazy. The premise is dumb and like not right, but it's really about this guy who is in love with that, you know, cute shy girl that he likes, that he thinks is cute, and then also this misunderstood but like very popular and like very, you know, how should I say, expressive in her, you know, nature. And so she is, you know, loud and kind of like a little bit off-putting to him because she's just a popular girl, but also she has a good heart, like deep down. So she also falls in love with him. And also the shy, you know, nice girl is actually in love with him too. So, and then they kind of get swapped, you know, and things don't really work out correctly. It's a pretty good show, I will say. You know, it's one of those love triangle polygon things. So, yeah, Samurai Champloo is really freaking good. It's like A tier. I don't know if I want to do like an A plus tier. I might have to, but the thing about like Samurai Champloo is it's essentially Cowboy Bebop, but for samurai. And why is that, you say? The same guy who wrote Cowboy Bebop wrote that. So like it's honestly just a lesser version of Cowboy Bebop, but samurai. And I like that, you know? It's not as good, but nothing can be perfect all the time, right? So it's literally Cowboy Bebop. That's what it is. But like I said, it's still freaking really good. Okay. SAO, this is the first season only, okay? First season only. It's like a B. It's fine. Everyone knows SAO. Sword Art Online. Guy gets stuck in a video game, meets his wife. They get married. And then he just fights for her. That's pretty much it. And he's kind of OP. Steins Gate. I mean, like, C tier? Steins Gate is fun. There's nothing wrong with it. I just don't think that it's really as good as like other people make it out to be, because I don't know that, I don't know, like the time travel is fine, but they just repeat everything as far as like, well, what about this and what about that? Like, how do we solve the, you know, issue, and how do we prevent, you know, certain things from happening? And it's like, okay, well, that's pretty much the premise of the entire, like, you know, genre of time travel, and everyone thinks time travel is so fascinating. I'm just like, it's fine, you know, like it's such a common theme in Japan, but they hold this one up as like the best one. And like, okay, well, Link Click does it better because it goes back in time with emotional characters and like meaning to life. But Steins Gate is just like, well, you know, time travel is like crazy, right? And they all have like certain weird, like there's an otaku dude, like then there's like a weird mad scientist dude who's the main character, and then the like foil to him, his girlfriend type deal or whatever, it's like really smart too. It's like, okay, and it all comes together, and it's like, it's fine, like it's all right. Death Note, yeah, this show slaps. It's probably better than Samurai Champloo. Like, it's up there as far as like quality. Everyone knows Death Note, right? I don't know how to go about Death Note. But yeah, he can write in this notebook that like a name of an individual, and see their face, and yeah, that's it. That's it for them. So, but yeah, I think that it's a fantastic show with great, you know, cat and mouse game with Light and L, that ultimately leaves you, you know, a little like satisfied, but kind of like, man, I didn't really expect that, you know, finale to end exactly like that. But yeah, I think it's still a great show, despite the, I mean, I didn't care about the ending too much. A lot of people didn't kind of like that when I showed them the anime, but I still like it. Bunny Girl Senpai, yeah, this show slaps so hard. I have to think if I like Nagatoro-san better or Bunny Girl Senpai. I think Nagatoro-san really just like, I don't know, hits my feels, but Bunny Girl Senpai is so funny because the guy who, you know, is the main character, he decides, oh, well, this is the girl who is invisible to everyone else. And he finds her in a bunny girl costume in the library, and he has to help her, right? Mai Sakurajima, like one of the top, you know, waifus of all time. But I think that the premise is great. Again, the whole time travel thing that happens in this anime, you know, I just don't, why does that keep happening? But yeah, I think that Bunny Girl Senpai is a fantastic show with great dialogue. It's one of the shows that kind of nails that sarcastic humor that I don't think, you know, anime typically has, because they do absurdist humor, right? And it's so well done in this show that it kind of puts other shows to shame, because like absurdist humor is terrible, but Bunny Girl Senpai really nails kind of like the American sarcastic, you know, humor, and that's one of the great things. Like the romance, it's great, it's good. We love the couple; they're amazing. But like the weird solving mysteries things, I mean, it's all right. You know, it tries to tell the story of like adolescence. But yeah. Overlord. So Overlord is basically this show where this guy gets stuck in a video game. Where should I put this? I have no idea, honestly. It's fantastic, but like, it's like low A tier. Yeah, I mean, seasons 2 and 3 are not great, but season 4 is so good. He basically is OP. He conquers this world, and then he gets trapped in the video game, and then guess what? Yeah, well, he is in a new land where he takes over that land, and he's just unapologetic about it. He's just like, yeah, these characters are just like video game characters, so I don't care. So he's like, well, if you don't do this, then I'm gonna like take you out. And then they're like, well, what if we don't want to do that? Because like we don't give up our land. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna do it anyways, and makes a scene out of it. It's like, whoa. It's very intense. It's actually a lot darker than you would think, but it's basically like a JRPG fantasy type story, and it's more about like bureaucratic issues and like, well, maybe we should do this, and like the supply chain is down, so and maybe we need to counteract this with an increase in morale. It's like, what? Like this is an anime, not CNN or something. Okay, let's get to our next anime here. After Overlord, I would say that we're going to Hyouka. Hyouka is a fantastic show. It's basically like a mystery show. This guy and this girl from high school, they're trying to figure out, I should say in high school, they're trying to figure out like certain mysteries that happened like 50 years ago. And then also kind of like what has happened recently. And the guy can pretty much figure out whatever. And the girl is, mildly interested in him. Like she's interested in his amazing like brain to where he can figure out everything. So she kind of fuels that fire for him. And he's kind of like lackadaisical in his energy, but he does end up kind of like crushing on her, and they like sort of have romance, but not really. It's mainly just a mystery thing. So it's pretty darn good. Overall, I think I appreciate the story looking back on it, but it's probably not better than something like Akiba Maid War. So I'll just put it in the like high B tier. It's definitely a solid show you should check out if you haven't seen it. Sing Yesterday for me. This is a great show. This is so good. Yeah, I really liked it. The main guy is this guy who graduated from college, but he's working part-time at a convenience store. He just has no direction in life. He's aimless. But what's really cool about this is that he confesses to his college, crush, who's been his friend for so long. But at the same time, like, they're just not really a good fit. So she says no, obviously. And then things get awkward. He still kind of likes her. But then this other girl who is, what should I say? Basically like this girl who is like mad in love with him, obviously from the start. And she's very open about it. But he just kind of like brushes her off. And so it gets into this like weird thing of he's still kind of pining over his crush. But, she is kind of moving on, sort of, but not really. And she kind of gives him mixed feelings and mixed signals. And then the, other girl that really, really likes the dude, she just ends up being like, yo, like, let's try to be in a relationship. So, and it's a very sad boy-esque anime. So, I really enjoyed it. So Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah, I mean, this is a slapitude of an anime. I would say, if I'm ranking this right now, like, I don't know, it's better than... It really is not that great. It's like better than Hellsing, better than Kimi no Todoke. It's like B. Like if you want to turn on Yu-Gi-Oh! And watch it like now, or for the first time ever, it's good. It's solid, but it's just one of those precursor animes to more stuff. Summertime rendering is pretty good, but the ending really flopped. It's basically the story about this guy who comes back to his hometown. It's like an island, but something's not right, and then he notices like some weird things, and there are doubles of people. Like there's one girl that has been like a little sister to him, and he sees her in two places at once, like in two different places at once. So yeah, that's all I can really say about the mystery, but like the island is kind of weird. So that's really all I can say without spoiling anything. My girlfriend is a gal. It's okay. It's like this guy gets a girlfriend who's obviously like gal, just meaning kind of like a, loud and like very promiscuous looking girl who looks like she doesn't have much of a, whatchamacallit, like intelligence, much of a head on her shoulders. But she does really, do some cool things as far as like she appreciates him. But he is kind of like dealing with his old kind of like crush, because he has like different crushes. And the other crush kind of like would date him, but really is all about like manipulating him. And so he actually does have a girlfriend who is a gal. So it's okay. It's very like very immature, so it's like a C tier anime. I would not recommend really watching it. Attack on Titan. Yeah, this show's pretty dang good after everything. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. The series finale was fantastic. I think it's high A tier. Like, it's definitely gonna beat out a lot of other things, just because the finale really was so good. Like, the finale really hit everything. It kind of wrapped up everything. It made sense again. I was like, wait, why is Eren doing these things? And then I was like, whoa, actually kind of makes sense. And I have my video on that if you guys want to check that out. So what I will do is just kind of leave that as is. We all know Attack on Titan slaps. And then we'll move on to the next one. And y'all are going to hate me. I know you're going to hate me. But this is S tier. Okay. Why is it S tier? Because it just put me in the feels, man. It put me in the feels so much. Like, I have never seen a show that I actually like thoroughly enjoyed the ending as much as this, besides Kaguya-sama. Because or like the peak. Because in this show, this guy who is really, really, ugly and fat in the beginning, he gets absolutely shredded in high school. And why did he do this? Well, the girl that, he really liked as a kid told him, you look ugly and you're fat. And then he was like, oh, okay, then I'm gonna glow up and grow up while I'm grown up, So he totally changes, his personality, his looks on the outside, but he still has the inside personality, which is the same. And then Aki Adagaki, I think Aki Adagaki, I think is her name. I can't remember. But yeah, she is like this cruel princess, that doesn't want any guy, but actually, things kind of change, I will say. So he's trying to date her so that she will eventually say, oh, well, I like you. And then he's going to be like, wow, I am that kid that you made fun of, so I am going to dump you. It's like, whoa, that is crazy. So yeah, I really appreciated that. It was a cool story. And I think that the romance in it is fantastic. Revenge R was so good. The second season was so good. Oh, man. See, I've recently changed my opinion on Dragon Ball Z. I'm just going to count it as like A, right? Because like, it's fantastic. The fights are so memorable. I'm going to include like Super a little bit, like just the best parts of Super. I'm just going to say overall, if you're talking about Dragon Ball content, it's tough to put one time in there, because I hate the original Dragon Ball. I mean, it just kind of sucks. So, like, it's not bad, okay? I've watched the first, 70 episodes. It's not bad, okay? It's just not really good, especially right now, like in the modern day. But I will say that Dragon Ball has influenced me so much that I'm going to have to put it as high in A tier as possible. So, moving on. Moriarty the Patriot is definitely a good show. I would put it higher, like in an objective list, but I've just seen all the other. Basically, James Moriarty is the villain that really was the one that, main focus for Sherlock Holmes, right? And all of those stories in this show are great. They're awesome. They're fantastic. They're clever. But the problem is I've already seen them. When he meets Sherlock Holmes, he actually just goes through like the all traditional Sherlock Holmes, basically they just steal all the episode ideas from the BBC, British broadcasting company, Sherlock Holmes, right? The Benedict Cumberbatch one. And what happens is like the first few episodes are great. They're really cool. Like he's a mastermind in helping people defeat their enemies, but at a truly devastating cost. And then he also just kind of wants to replace the noble regime of England because he thinks it's terrible, which is cool, And then he goes on this rampage of basically being the silent, guardian type instigator. And it's really good. It's fascinating stuff, but I lost interest after it just was repetitive for me. So Re:Zero. Whoo! I don't know. It was okay. It's bottom B tier. It's it's fine. I mean, I probably prefer parts of SAO to it. Re:Zero is basically just this story where a guy can restart his journey in the isekai. And it's oh, well, how are they gonna interestingly do that? They don't. They just kind of say, well, he needs to do things certain ways. And he can't do everything on his own. It's okay. I mean, I get that he has to swallow a bunch of his pride and learn that he, can't always get the thing that he wants. But it's not really much of a series other than that. It's just the girls are waifus, Rim, and then his love interest Amelia. So that's pretty much it. This is F tier. Love and Lies, I guess, Koi no Uso. A show where, I kid you not, the Japanese government assigns people I don't know if they're in high school or whatever, people that they are going to marry. That's what it is. And if you don't do that, then everyone's going to shame you. And so you get assigned to someone who you've never met before, right? And he's oh yeah, by the way, you get matched with your ultimate crush and she likes you. It's oh, this is incredible. And then they change the story up and well, actually you're matched up with this other girl. And he's what? And then triangle, love triangle. That's it. It was atrocious. I mean, the stupidest thing I've ever seen, really. One of the worst anime, top 5 worst anime of all time. Bungo Stray Dogs, overall, it's low B tier. It's not bad. It's just this guy is has a supernatural power, and these other people have supernatural powers. And so then they, just interact and are like a kind of like a freelance, private investigation place, I think is what it is. So that's pretty cool. But other than that, I just didn't really think it was all that worth like watching after season 3. I just couldn't get through it. So Zom 100. This is such a good show, dude. Is it better than Bocchi the Rock? I don't think so. I don't think it's better than these shows. But it's pretty dang good, I will say. It's like high B plus tier. Zom 100 is a story about this guy who, is having a terrible work experience. And he graduated college and now he's in the working world and it's just atrocious. It's terrible. He can't sleep. He just has to work all the time. And then he just eats like ramen at his desk and then falls asleep for 1 hour and then he has to keep working. So, and then the girl that he likes is the CEO's mistress. And then he's like, oh, well, what am I supposed to do? Well, what happens is the whole world experiences a zombie apocalypse. So he's one of the few survivors. And so he meets this other girl who's, basically his, one true love. And he has to cross off all 100 things on his bucket list before he becomes a zombie and, basically dies at that point. Because he doesn't really think he'll live forever, until he doesn't have to be a zombie. He thinks he'll become a zombie. And honestly, it's just an enjoyable show. It's really freaking good. Like it's awesome. It's very energetic. The use of color is mesmerizing, and I think that while the characters aren't anything as far as like, what do you call it? Not Grammy, but Golden Globe, Academy Award winning type of acting, as far as the characters go, and their, well, I guess you could say their actual like development. But it's still freaking good. and the characters are enjoyable. They're funny, and they're cool. And I just have a good time watching it. It's a solid show. I'm putting a lot of B plus tier in here. Isekai Oji-san. Yeah, this show is so freaking funny. It's really good. It's fantastic. It's one of the better shows. A story where a guy gets isekai'd into this land where he becomes crazy powerful, but he's super ugly. So the people don't like him in there most of the time. They think he's terrible. And then he meets this elf girl who is actually kind of in love with him. And he just is oblivious to that fact. Then he comes back into the real world and then he keeps his powers in the real world. So what does he do? Yeah, he obviously becomes a famous YouTuber, but to make money off YouTube. And then it's a great show. It's a comedy and a parody of the isekai genre, while all at the same time kind of flipping the trope on its head and saying, what if you had those powers but no one else had them in the real world? So I think Isekai Oji-sen, it's called Uncle from Another World. It's fantastic. One of the better parody animes, of course, no doubt. Kubo-san, yeah, this show's, it's like a low B tier. It's very good. It's about this guy who's really, really shy, and basically invisible to everyone else in the class except for Kubo. And Kubo is this really nice girl who just sees him for who he is, and she really appreciates him. And they hang out together, and it's just kind of like a wholesome anime. So it's pretty good. Under Ninja. Surprisingly, this is not a bad show. It's pretty high B tier. It's weird, and this ninja guy has to infiltrate a high school full of ninjas, and then also at the same time he has to fight these really talented ninjas, and there's like a ninja war going on, but it's all secret, of course, because like they can't let the government know that they're fighting this much. And it's good. It's very like, how should I say, not child. I mean, it's a little childish, but it's also like, it's, I don't know. What do you call it? And it's like, well, it's kind of like gross, you know? It's a little gross, like all the different things they talk about, and like, that's not really my thing. Maybe I'll come back to that word. Yeah. It's just not a nice thing, you know? But it's okay overall. The Way of the House Husband. This is a fantastic show. Where the heck do I need to put? This is so funny. It's like high B tier. Me ranking The Way of the House Husband over Hunter x Hunter. Yes, I know that looks weird, but like The Way of the House Husband is really funny, and I enjoy that show. You know, when you have comedies up against like really serious anime, I just don't think that it's a fair comparison. But I do understand that, like, well, it's a great show. Like, I like it. You know, I enjoy it. It's basically where this guy from the mafia, the Yakuza, he becomes a house husband and to his working wife. And so he takes care of certain things and he tells you how he does it. It's pretty cool. And then it's a parody, you know, it's a comedy. And it's really freaking good, honestly. So I'm not ashamed of that. Ooh, Konosuba is like high C tier. Yeah, I just did not like it really. Didn't think. I mean, it's basically like a sitcom in the isekai genre, and they parodied it a little bit, you know. So it's okay. I mean, I just don't know what to say about it, really. All right, number one of all time. Best show. It's perfect. You know it. I know it. Frieren. An elven mage for the past 1,000 years has become one of the greatest wizards of all time. But the thing about that is she is emotionless, or seemingly. And so she has to go through character development and understanding of other people's feelings, but also broadening what she knows to be true about humans, because she herself is not human. And so elves have a different demeanor and personality. They just don't care too much about things like that. And they're dying out because they're not passionate about life, because they can live however long they want, basically. And what's the key to this? Like, why is this such a fantastic series? It's because every single thing in this entire anime is perfect. The music, the animation, the fight scenes, the fight sequences, the action, the general theme of the story, all of that stuff is incredible. Stark is one of the most relatable characters as a man, but also he is, you know, funny, but he acts exactly like a teenager would. And so does Fern, but Fern is serious and at times motherly to Frieren, which is a, you know, obviously a play on that dynamic, since Frieren's thousands of years older than her. And then at the same time, Frieren herself is really competent. So you don't really see a lot of main characters that are like overpowered, but that's just because it makes sense that they're overpowered, right? Like, there's a reason why she's overpowered, and we know that because she's lived for so long. She's had time to study magic. Frieren is one of the most perfect anime of all time. In my opinion, it's my favorite. I think it's all around the best anime ever. And I could go on and on. I have 12 different videos about Frieren, like, and I have one where I talk about it for 2 hours. So I'm not gonna hark too much on that, right? Or harp. I always forget. But yeah, it's a fantastic show with incredible action, deep intellectual stimulation of thought, It's fantastic. Call of the Knights. Yeah, it's like a... probably better than Akiba Maid War, I think. Shinobi no Ittoki. Yeah. I think that's fair. Call of the Night is a story about a guy who wants to become a vampire, and he has to fall in love with this other vampire in order to... or with this vampire, the girl vampire, in order to become a vampire. And I think it's a fantastic story about love and, you know, growing into your own skin, but also it's really just a straight vibe. Like, just looking at the anime, the animation, the purple night sky with, you know, the soundtrack, the wonderful soundtrack, the crazy J-pop beats. It's a fantastic show. It really is. It's good. Your Boi Kongming. It's low A tier. This show is so good. Kongming, this guy who was a general like long time ago, he gets isekai'd into the real world just in the future. And so he basically helps this girl named Eiko, you know, explode her music career. And Eiko has to deal with like her own troubles, but then Kongming is an ultimate strategist that helps her along. And it's awesome. It's a really touching story with, you know, some overall premises that I think are interesting. You know, she has to basically battle this other group that, you know, they sell out. And they have to deal with that stress, you know, emotional stress of, are they doing the right thing? And it's a very wholesome series, you know, but it's great. And you thought there was never a girl online. It's pretty good. Like, I know it's super fan servicey, so I don't like that. But I think it's probably like super funny. Just because it's literally so like out there. I don't know. I guess my one statement would be, it is a comedic show where a guy, you know, is playing with these other three people online that he assumes is like he assumes they're all guys, but they're not. They're actually all girls that go to his school that are in his class. One's like a super duper popular girl that is super rich, but you would have never guessed it. And the other girl is like a, you know, like an it girl, like she is that girl, and she would never be seen with that guy, but then she ends up playing games with him. And then also this girl, what's her name? Akko, I think her name is. Anyways, the main girl in this show, she it's funny because like she's just obsessed with the games and she thinks the games are real life. So yeah, it's a weird show, but it's kind of hilarious. Scissor Seven. I know you're gonna hate me for this. You're gonna clown on me, but it's pretty dang good. Like, do I think that Scissor Seven, personally, do I enjoy it better than Isekai Oji-san? I don't think so. Isekai Oji-san was really good. I watched that whole thing. Scissor Seven is a fantastic story about a guy who used to be a criminal, you know, outlaw, like assassin killer, shadow killer. And then he got bumped on the head, and then he has amnesia, and he actually has two separate personalities that he goes back and forth between. But he still likes to protect his friends. And it's a fantastic show. The animation is great. It's from China. It's a Chinese donghua. So I do think that it's overall like one of the better like action shows, and it has great romance too, I think, like sprinkled in the plot. Very weird people and powers. It's all about chi, but like Chinese like interpretation of what that means, spiritual energy. So I think it's a great, fantastic show. Jujutsu Kaisen. Where should I put this? Man, this is so difficult. It's pretty dang good. Like, this is so difficult. Is Jujutsu Kaisen Okay, obviously, like, everyone knows about that, right? Hopefully. But season 2 was so crazy with like all the powers and the plot points and the Shibuya incident. Whew, yeah, that was fantastic. I mean, overall, just like, it may not have the highest quality like animation, like top, but it hits every single time. You know, Mappa is crazy good at what they do. I do think Demon Slayer has better animation ultimately, like in the very tippy top. But yeah, Jujutsu Kaisen has it like consistently amazing, and the scenes are great. Like, it's such a great overall like story with interesting plot developments. Like, who would have thought that this guy would be doing this? You know, and I was just so surprised by how dark it got too. It does keep you on your toes, I will say. Do I think it's better than Scissor Seven or Dragon Ball Z? Well, I think I personally enjoy something like Dragon Ball Z more. What do I think is better? I think Dragon Ball Z is better than those shows. And I think the Scissor Seven is great. So I'll keep those rankings. This is so difficult. God of High School. This might be the only D tier. Because, like, it's really just, like, random fights. And that's pretty much it. It's not that good. The fights are fine. Like, if you want to watch the fights, sure. Lycoris Recoil, it's a pretty solid show. It's like high B tier, maybe, yeah. This girl basically gets kicked out of this like academy for like trained spies, and then the main girl, her name is Chisato, and she's super bubbly, and she's like a rogue like agent sorta. I mean, basically they just allow her to be a Lycoris agent, and so while she's doing that, she gets to like do her own like duties, and so she takes the Takina girl or whatever along, and they have like a gang of like interesting characters, like an old sensei dude, a young like mid-20s girl, and then like this hacker or whatever. So I think that it's a decent show. The finale was weird, definitely strange, but I enjoyed it. You know, it's like a secret spy agent thing. So the music was really cool. Oh man, this is getting so difficult. Kakegurui is one of my all-time favorite shows, dude. Like, I really like this show. I think it's S tier. It's so good. It's so good. Like, this girl comes in, like, is a compulsive gambler, and she is so good at gambling that she kind of leaves everyone in the school that, you know, all of them are trying to gamble too. It's, you know, anime, obviously, and they're all super rich. Like, their families are really rich. And so she is just like obliterating these people, and then she has to face like the student council members who are really mad at her and then want to kick her out of the school. So it's a very great, I think it's super entertaining, and I think I'll put it above Evangelion. I mean, I really like this anime. I'll put it above Link Click. It's fantastic. Like, I know that it has some fan service. I don't like that, but it does have really great like sequences, you know, and it's very thrilling too. It's like, what will happen next, and like these gambles are crazy. High card. I don't think it's D tier because the first season is not bad. Maybe it is. Would I want to watch High Card over these other anime? Probably not. It's probably a super duper low C tier. High Card is this anime where this guy finds this card that gives him like a superpower, and all 52 cards spread out and give people superpowers. And there's a family that is closely related with the government, and they're trying to work together to, actually recover them for the king. But there's obviously like a shadow bad group that's taking those cards too, so they have to fight them. That's pretty much it. So it's fine. It's just the plot kind of sucks. Like, it's not that good. Okay, Psyche K is actually like really underrated. It's so funny. This guy is a psychic who can do anything he wants, but he's a little bit his powers are out of control. So like he can listen to everyone, all that stuff, see ghosts. It's really good. It's a great show. It's very funny. I just I can't watch too much of it though. The jokes kind of go away. It's a gag manga. It's a gag anime. That's what it is, Psychopaths. This is Psychopaths season 1, okay? I'm only talking about season 1. Are there other seasons? Yes. Do I acknowledge that they exist? No, I do not. Enough said about that. Psychopaths is an anime where this girl becomes a agent in a organization, the police. She's a detective. But what happens is this Japanese society is actually all, controlled by no guns at all, even for the cops. They only have dominators. And the dominators, what they do is they assess a person's psychopath score. So their their psychosis score, the gun measures their score and says, well, they are really, really nervous and they could go psychotic anytime now. So if they do, and they're probably going to commit like a criminal act, so you have permission to, obliterate them or, just paralyze them. And so the other people, their psychopaths are too high. They are working underneath the, detectives. So they have this whole thing, and then this other guy, Shinya Kogame, I think that's his name, he has to fight. He wants to find this serial killer, and he works super hard to do that, and they have to take down a serial killer. So it's a fascinating sci-fi show that is, season 1 is one of the greatest pieces of anime of all time. Dr. Stone. Dr. Stone slaps. Put that stuff in A tier. Put it in A tier. Dr. Stone is a story about this guy who can basically solve anything, do any scientific problem, build any science thing. He knows how to make everything from scratch. And it tells you how he makes it, so it's really cool. So he can make like soap or whatever, or just random things, but also like he can make a car, and it's very rudimentary, but it works, So anyways, their whole entire society gets frozen in stone for some reason. Everyone gets stonified. And then they somehow, some of them wake up due to a certain, I think it's nitric acid that falls on them. And so he has to like basically rebuild all of society with people that are, broken from the stone, that were there 3,000 years ago. So there's nothing left in the earth. Like, it's all just like, regular landscape, no like leftover part of the human civilization that was built, Fog Hill of 5 Elements. This is like this is like a low 8. Let's actually put A+ tier. Let me put an A+ tier. Add a row above. And this is going to be A+. Because we need to put some A+ stuff in here. I don't know. What color should it be? like green, lime green. Do we have a lime green? That's kind of green, but lime green. Okay. Let's put Dragon Ball, Isekai Oji-san, Scissor Seven, Jujutsu Kaisen, Attack on Titan, all up in A+. Because I do think those deserve an A+ rating. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's fair. I know this tier list is getting kind of wonky, but there's a lot of mid anime. Like this whole area in the middle is just mid, right? Anyways, what anime was I talking about? Oh yeah, Fog Hell 5 Elements. It's really good. The action sequences are incredible. I think that one of the better animes, this Chinese donghua that like this guy has the elemental power of fire and he just like beats up the bad guy. That's pretty much it. Like that's all it is. But the action sequences are crazy. They are like the best fights I've ever seen as far as like choreography goes. And then like the punches are crazy, are like, I think they're so hard hitting that it kind of takes you out of the anime. You're like, whoa, this is kind of almost intense in animation, you know? The intensity is crazy. But yeah, I do think it's one of the best like anime that has fighting in it. Like it's overall, the fighting in the anime is what makes it really appealing. But it's really good. Like it is very, very good. The story is like meh, and I don't even care. You know, I'm going to say this. For My Hero Academia, a guy who wants to become the best hero of all, in a world where 80% of people have quirks, this show is so fantastic that I'm going to put it in S+ tier. Only because it has made me cry a lot. And it's like tears of joy. It's such a great show. Like the fact that these emotional characters, or these emotions well, I should say these characters fight in a battle, right? Against good and evil. And they just make it so emotional. Like they just want to help out their fellow human, and it's just incredible that a person that can be so sacrificial, you know, just like give up their own life just so that they can be, you know, a hero to someone else. And it's defining what the essence of a hero should be. So I think that what they're doing now, season 7, is great. Like I like it. I know that I can't talk about spoilers, so I will just say, like, overall, My Hero Academia, the powers are great. Like the characters, they use them well. They grow, you know. There's also so many like emotional battles that like that's what drives the characters forward. The animation, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's just kind of, it's good. You know, it gets the job done, right? But the story is so deep and like it's a little cheesy, but it works really, really, really well for a lot of anime fans. And I understand why people like it. Now, there are a lot of people that kind of go overboard, but I think it's great. The fights are, like I said, what really kind of showcase the growth of the characters. So many callbacks that they do. But yeah, it's such a fantastic show. Mob Psycho 100. Yeah, this show's great. This is S tier for sure. I personally like Masamune-kun a little bit better, but Mob Psycho is really good. Like I think that Mob being a psychic, you know, but a very kind of like timid boy, it's very relatable for me. You know, when he's in middle school, like he's going through all these different like emotions and like how to be confident and stuff like that. But also, man, he's just a great guy, you know. Like Mob works super duper hard to try to keep up with everyone, and he doesn't use his powers to like hurt anyone. He just used them to help people. And his, boss, Reagan, at the, psychic medium agency, he kind of takes advantage of him, but also, like, he looks out for him in other aspects. But he's like, oh, Mob, can you, like, do this work for me? And he has no psychic powers. So he tricks Mob basically into, like, thinking, oh yeah, I'm a really great psychic, which is kind of terrible. He's a con man, but he gets such a great, like, character arc and, like, redemption. Oh, it's so beautiful. This show is amazing. Oh, Mob Psycho. Fantastic show. Okay. Man, these are some bangers at the end. Isekai the Cheat Skill. This show's great. It's like A+. It's really good. This guy gets isekai powers. So he goes in that world. He gets like this princess girl that is in love with him. Then he goes back to the real world. He has those powers. He gets shredded. He used to be fat. Now he's not. And then girls like him now. And he gets like this super nice, like really awesome girl in the real world too. So it's just a power fantasy. He's just like, yeah, I'm a model now, but really he hasn't changed. Like, he's still got a good heart. Yeah, I really love that show. Too much fan service in that show, but it's fantastic. Spy Family. I'm going to include the manga and the movie in this, like Code White. It's good enough. It's low A tier. It's a wholesome show. Obviously, I hope everyone knows, but Lloyd, the guy, is a spy, and he has to adopt a fake baby, fake girl, fake daughter, who's like 5-6 years old, and she's a telepath, but nobody knows that. Nobody knows that he's a spy, except for Anya, the girl. And then he marries a fake wife, Yor, who is actually an assassin, and Anya knows both of their actual, hidden identities, but doesn't tell them because she wants to be a family, because she is basically, psychologically traumatized. And it's a comedy show. But I really appreciated the movie. It kind of bumped it up for me. I think it was B tier or something. It really sent me over the top, I think, to A. So I think Spy Family is wholesome. It's very nice to watch. The manga is actually better, in my opinion. Lupin the Third, like, overall, yeah, Lupin the Third is really good. Yeah, I'll put it in like A tier. So Lupin the Third is a show that's been running for like 70, 80 years or something. I don't know. I can't remember. But it's part 1, part 2, part 3. Not that great. They were in the 1960s and 70s. I know a lot of people don't like when I say that, but I don't care, honestly. The fact that the part 4, part 5, part 6 aired 2015, 2017, and then really recently, like 2021, I think, or 2022. It's fantastic. It's a gentleman thief. He just steals stuff, and he's got his partner, the samurai, with him as well. His partner is Daisuke Jigen, and he's can shoot pretty much anything with a Magnum 45 caliber. He's a sharpshooter, and then Ishikawa Goemon is the 13th descendant of the famous samurai, and he's a samurai. He can cut anything with his blade, Zantetsuken. And then his Lupin's the third. He's got a femme fatale, that he is wrapped around her finger. That's Fujiko Mine, and she is definition of that attribute, or name definition, or dang, what am I talking about? Anyways, and then this guy, the Zenigata, who's always trying to capture Lupin, but he never is successful. Fantastic show, by the way. Is really good. Where did I put Demon Slayer? Okay. Demon Slayer. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's S plus tier. It is. I mean, the animation is like, animation alone with that fight with Uzui and that demon, that was crazy. That was really just, I think, the best approach to animation in general, as far as like, I don't think you can get better than that scene. Obviously with the Rengoku stuff, I love that stuff. That movie was incredible. Like, it's fantastic. I loved it. I didn't really like what happened, but it did. So, and then I appreciate all the characters in Demon Slayer. I don't think that the season 4 is good at all. It's really sucky right now. But I think that the fights are just, they're so cool looking, dude. I mean, and I think that Demon Slayer, it's so tough, right? Because like I love Demon Slayer, I really do, and it's great. Like, but the problem with Demon Slayer is that like the characters have no depth, except for Shinobu Kochi, and I've made a video about that, so you should check that out. The part that like really gets me is like going back and watching the Rengoku, the Uzui stuff. That slaps. Like, the amount of hype and also like pure great fantastic animation with the sword fights, it's kind of like unmatched, like. So just for that express purpose of the best animation of all time, you gotta put it up there in S+. So Naruto, yeah, I love this show. I mean, this is simply for nostalgia purposes, but Naruto is like near and dear to my heart. Honestly, I looked back and watched some episodes of that. Not very good. Not very good. I mean, it's great. Like, I actually like the war arc, but it's always going to be in my top 3. Those are my top 3 right now. But yeah, I think that when you talk about all the different things in Naruto that happen, I know it's like 700 episodes long, but it's really great. Now the filler sucks, but I think just like the power system, and then also like the characters in there, they get a lot of depth. Kakashi Sensei is probably my number 1 favorite character of all time in all of anime. But yeah, I mean, Naruto is just kind of like where I grew up in anime, so it's always going to hold a special place in my heart. Mashle, Magic and Muscles, it's pretty good. Like, it's season 2 was good. Yeah, I don't know. It's like low B+ tier or high B. It's probably like the highest one in B, I would say. How do I? Yeah, so it's B. It's basically a Harry Potter anime where like the guy can't use magic. He just punches everything. He just uses his physical strength. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know. Like, it's good. It's got some good fights in it, for sure. But I just don't really appreciate, like, all of the wacky stuff that happens in that, all of the anime humor. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. This is such a bad take. But, like, I'd probably watch all of those B tier anime rather than this. This anime was so difficult to watch, Full Metal Alchemist. It's like, it was boring with, like, not great animation, and then it didn't make sense. And also, it was, like, pretty long. It was, like, 70, 60 episodes long. I think it was 60 episodes. I just did not really appreciate it. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. I know that's the worst take of all time, but, like, I can't do it. I just cannot say that it was good because I didn't like it. I don't think the characters were interesting. I didn't give a care in the world about any of them except Roy Mustang, Colonel Mustang. He's crazy. He's awesome. He's so freaking cool in that anime. He just burns lust alive. But yeah, other than that, I felt like they were whiny. All the characters were whiny. It was poorly written. Confusing. The powers didn't make any sense. But yeah, Oshinoko. My bad. Yeah, there we go. Oshinoko is the best non-fighting anime of all time. Why do I say this? Well, there are multiple reasons. Episode 1 of this was an hour and a half long, and it was one of the greatest things I've seen in a while. Even though half of it was terrible. Like, the first half is all set up, and then the second half was like, whoa, this is a real story. And so the drama mixed with like the reincarnation factor of the guy, the doctor, whatever, he gets reincarnated as this idol's son, and then also the doctor's patient gets reincarnated as her daughter, the idol's daughter, and they have to navigate the world with their newfound identities. Also, they're still aware of their past lives. They're completely cognizant of that. But yeah, I definitely think it's pretty dang good. The music done by Yoasobi for the opening, the Idol song, so great. And then I just like the drama mixed with like the mystery factor, and all of the characters are like very almost like manipulative and like shisty, kind of like sneaky. And I really like that. And the guy, Aqua is his name. He's really interesting because he's super duper smart too. So yeah, I think that the blending with the darkness, the light side, like the utter, darkness of the human soul is in this anime, but also like there's some light too of like some truly good and, bright shining things that, idols just want to make people happy a lot of the times, but it's a dark industry. So behind closed doors, some terrible stuff happens. But yeah, we need to go on to the next anime called Parasyte. It's fantastic. It's really great. This guy gets infected with a parasite that doesn't fully bond with him. Like normally they would just eat the host's brain, and that would be it. But and they would fully take over. But the parasite didn't. He was unable to do so. It's a pretty darn good anime overall, I think it's probably A tier. So he just has to fight these different parasites taking over human bodies. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's very sad boy-ish, so I loved it. Okay, Code Geass. Code Geass is really fantastic since I think that it was like one of the first anime that I really blazed through, like seasons 1 and 2. So it's like a mech anime where this guy has a Geass, this special power where he can command people to do stuff one time. And he has to fight back against an entire, it's basically he fights back against the British Empire, and he's, Japanese. And so he has to fight them all on his own with this ragtag group of, rebels. So it's really good. I'd probably mark it better than Death Parade. I think I personally like Akame Ga Kill better. Well, I don't know, because Code Geass was great, but I just watched it in a blur, and I literally watched it in 2 days. So that's 2 seasons. So that's 52 episodes in 2 days. So that's a lot of anime. I basically just watched that for 12 hours a day for 2 days. It was fantastic. I really liked it. Lelouch is really smart. He's the main character. This is such a long video, so I'm just trying to speed up, Odd Taxi, one of the greatest anime of all time. Like, it's so good. I don't think I would put it above like Mob Psycho, but it's very, very, very good. Now that I think about it, I'm gonna actually move these down to like S tier. I really just want Naruto, Cowboy Bebop, and Frieren up there. Because like, I think that those really set the tone of the whole, thing. Odd Taxi being S tier, yeah, it's perfect. It's a story about a walrus guy who, finds out like, hey, there's this weird stuff going on, and like the cops are after him, and he has to like unravel this story, this mystery, which is really good because like the whole dialogue is almost like Quentin Tarantino-esque, and it's it's a fascinating story with interesting premise, and a very weird resolution that I think makes sense, but it was very unexpected too. Okay, Yu Yu Hakusho. It was pretty solid. It's like a high B. Overall, it's fine. Guy gets special like powers from dying, and the Grim Reaper decides to give him, certain things. He becomes a spirit detective, so he, basically is able to take out the demons and spirits that are not in the correct place, and that's fine. It's kind of old, but I still enjoyed it. I watched all like 100 something episodes, 120 or something. Togashi is the guy who also made Hunter x Hunter, wherever that is on the list. So he's really great at what he does. I just don't really personally like, Yu Yu Hakusho. So One Punch Man is kind of interesting because One Punch Man was really fantastic. Like season 1 was great. Season 2, not that good. So I'm going to rank it pretty highly. Probably like better than Akame Ga Kill because it's funny. It's humorous. But this guy defeats everyone in one punch. But the fights were actually really hype. I'm not going to lie. They were really hype. Oh my God. Rent a Girlfriend. This is crazy, man. Oh, Rent a Girlfriend is so good. Oh, this show is amazing. I love this show. I don't know if it's, hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, I think that's all of my 10, right? Like, I don't think that there's anything else. Yeah, these two would not be top 10. Okay, I think I'll roll with that for sure. But yeah, I mean, Rent a Girlfriend, I know this guy is a loser. Kazuya is a terrible guy. He's just a loser. But also, he kind of grows in this show. So I think the first 3 seasons have shown us that. Will that really carry over to the 4th season? I don't know. I can't tell you. It does seem it's a little like iffy right now between him and Mizuhara. But Mizuhara is the greatest female anime character of all time. She is fantastic. She's smart. She's talented. She's an actress. She's hardworking. She can also like clean, cook and like all the different things that like a traditional woman would do. But also she's like super duper smart and she has her own career goals. And I think that's great. That's awesome. And she's also incredibly beautiful, and everyone notices that. So, and then I think that's really where I kind of draw my line as far as like, I understand that objectively it's a terrible, terrible show, but the serendipitous nature in congruence with like the fact that I kind of relate to Kazuya a little bit, tiny bit. And then also I love the fact that all the girls are kind of in love with him. So I like the kind of, the not so heavy like harem, but just kind of like accurate representation of like college indecision, in your personality. And then also like just that it's such a heartwarming thing because Kazuya really does like women. He does, like, he likes them, and he doesn't want to hurt them. He's just he became a bitter guy, because of his breakup with that evil Spawn girl, the blonde girl in this show. But I think that he hopefully could treat Mizuhara right. That's my wish. 7 Deadly Sins. See, the first 2 seasons are really good, so like I would rather watch it than Yu Hakusho, but it really fell off after that. The animation was horrific. The war arc was terrible. 7 Deadly Sins, they all have different powers and stuff like that. And they all mirror their respective sin. So I think y'all know about that. Solo Leveling. See, this show is so like solid that it's so high in the A tier, but it's like that's it. It's just not like genre defining or even like incredibly like fantastic about something. Nothing really stands out to me as far as like, oh, that puts it over the top, that gives it the edge. It's just like, yeah, this guy, there's some like crazy things going on, portals opening, and they have to fight these monsters, and they're like dungeons and stuff, so it's like JRPG stuff, video game stuff, and he just levels up with himself, and no one else can do that except for him. It's like, okay. And there's like some decent fights, and I'm like, well, what's like the big factor? Like, what's the big awesome thing? It's like, dude, he levels up. That's it. Like, it's a great show. Like, don't get me wrong, that's why I'm putting it in the A tier. I just don't think that like it's really that amazing. It's just decent, It's good. Like, there's nothing wrong with it, guys. I don't hate it. I think it's good. It's just like, it's not great, right? Like, it's not gonna be in the A+ tier for me. It's just not a personal favorite of mine. Is it a super solid show that I would recommend? Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's great. It's kind of dark and gritty. So, the worst anime of all time, yeah, probably that. I mean, these are shows that I haven't really, gone off the deep end. Like, I've seen every single, I've seen a full season of all of these all of these shows. Okay, so I know what these shows are like. There are some other shows that like I would tell you, yeah, I watched like 5 episodes and quit because it was terrible. But these are the top 88 anime that I know for a fact I can tell you about them accurately. That Liar, whatever anime is terrible. God of High School, terrible. I think this is a fair assessment of the C tier. B tier looks fine. B+ tier, we're going from left to right as far as good. Like, what's the best? So, yeah, I do think that that's a fair assessment as far as like personally what I enjoy. Death Note being the best A tier. Samurai Champloo. Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah. And then Dragon Ball Z, kind of just holding it down originally. I think these, Jujutsu Kaisen might turn out to be like S tier one day. But Attack on Titan, other than the finale kind of wrapping everything up, it's just a solid show. It's a really good show. And then Odd Taxi obviously being like perfect in what it needs to do, right? A lot of people don't like the art style or the fact that they're animals, but I don't care. Mob Psycho being ultimate classic. So top 15. Number 1, Frieren, Cowboy Bebop, Naruto, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think Kakegurui being in the top 10 is fine with me. 2, romance anime, Rent a Girlfriend, Kaguya-sama. That's fair, I think, of them being in the top. And then the 15, Link Click, Evangelion, Masamune-kun, Mob Psycho, and Odd Taxi. I think that's fair. I think that's a fair assessment. So yeah, guys, I think that Frieren is the best anime of all time. That's why it's in S+ tier. Cowboy Bebop is a close second. Naruto, for nostalgia purposes, the best non-fighting anime ever is Oshinoko so far. Psychopath Season 1 is definitely worth number 5, top 5 of all time anime. My Hero Academia is just a personal favorite of mine. I enjoyed it. Still enjoying it. Demon Slayer, just because of the animation, it's got to make the top 10. Rent-A-Girlfriend, my favorite romance anime. Sue me. Okay, whatever. And then Kaguya-sama Love is War, obviously, I think objectively being our modern classic romance anime. Very fantastic anime. And then Kakegurui rounding out the 10th spot, just as a personal favorite of mine. I can't really say much else. Link Click getting in the top 15 for sure. But yeah, I mean, what did you guys think? I know y'all are gonna just absolutely destroy me in the comments, but just go for it. I know it's a super long video, but I thank y'all for enjoying this time together. Please, like, subscribe, comment your favorite anime of all time. Tell me what I did wrong. Why did I put certain anime in here? But yeah, I appreciate y'all's time.